Listen up, XRP holders. I need to have a serious conversation with you today, and I'm going to be brutally honest. Because someone needs to say what everyone's thinking, but nobody wants to admit. I think many of you should sell your XRP. Yes, you heard that right. And before you click away in anger, hear me out completely, because what I'm about to tell you could save you from making the biggest financial mistake of your life. I've been in this space for years. I've watched XRP go through its ups and downs. I've seen people lose their life savings, and I've also seen people make fortunes. But right now, in September 2025, something feels different. Something feels wrong. And if you're not paying attention to the warning signs, you're going to get burned badly. Let me start by saying this isn't financial advice. This is just one person's perspective based on what I'm seeing in the markets, in the regulatory environment, and in the behavior of institutional players. But I've been right before when others were wrong, and I have a sick feeling in my stomach that many of you are about to learn some very expensive lessons. First, let's talk about where we are right now with XRP. The price is sitting around $3, which sounds great if you bought at 50 cents last year. But here's the problem that nobody wants to acknowledge. We might have already seen the peak. And I know that's not what you want to hear, especially if you're holding bags hoping for that magical $10, $20 or $100 XRP that crypto influencers keep promising you. The reality is that XRP's recent run-up wasn't driven by organic adoption or revolutionary technology breakthroughs. It was driven by speculation, regulatory optimism, and institutional FOMO. And those drivers are starting to fade faster than most people realize. Let me explain why I think we're at a critical turning point and why selling might be the smartest move for many of you right now. The regulatory environment that everyone thought was going to be XRP's golden ticket is turning out to be more complex and potentially damaging than anyone anticipated. Yes, Ripple won their battle with the SEC. Yes, we have more regulatory clarity. But what we're discovering is that this clarity isn't necessarily the bullish catalyst everyone expected. The new regulatory framework is actually creating more barriers to entry for smaller investors, while giving institutional players even more advantages. The compliance costs are astronomical. The reporting requirements are insane. And the way these regulations are being implemented is essentially creating a two-tiered system where retail investors like you and me are going to get squeezed out. I've been talking to people inside major financial institutions, and what they're telling me is terrifying. They're not looking at XRP as this revolutionary bridge currency that's going to transform cross-border payments. They're looking at it as a temporary liquidity tool that they can use until they develop their own central bank digital currencies. Think about it logically. Why would JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, or Wells Fargo want to be dependent on a cryptocurrency that they don't control when they can create their own digital dollars that they have complete control over? The answer is they don't. They're using XRP as a bridge technology while they build their own infrastructure. And once that infrastructure is complete, they're going to dump XRP faster than you can say cross-border payments. But here's where it gets even worse. The tokenization narrative that everyone's so excited about is actually working against XRP in ways that most people don't understand. When everything becomes tokenized, when every asset can be moved digitally, you don't need a bridge currency anymore. You just need efficient networks. And there are networks out there that are faster, cheaper, and more scalable than the XRP ledger. Solana is processing more transactions than XRP at a fraction of the cost. Ethereum's layer 2 solutions are becoming incredibly efficient. Even newer blockchains like Sui and Aptos are showing capabilities that make XRP look outdated. The technology advantage that XRP supposedly had is disappearing rapidly. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what about all the partnerships? What about the banks that are adopting XRP? What about the rumors of an ETF? Let me address each of these point by point, because this is where the rubber meets the road. The partnerships that Ripple keeps announcing sound impressive in press releases, but when you dig into the details, most of them are pilot programs, proof of concept projects, or limited trial runs. Very few of these partnerships are resulting in significant ongoing XRP usage. Banks are testing the technology, not committing to it long term. Franklin Templeton's announcement about tokenizing their money market fund on the XRP ledger sounds huge until you realize that they're primarily using RLUSD, Ripple's stablecoin, not XRP itself. The actual XRP usage in these tokenization projects is minimal. They're building on the XRP ledger, but they're not necessarily driving demand for XRP tokens. And here's something that should terrify every XRP holder. Ripple themselves are moving away from XRP-centric solutions. Their RLUSD stablecoin is becoming their primary focus, because stablecoins are what institutions actually want. They want price stability, regulatory compliance, and predictable value transfer. XRP's volatility makes it unsuitable for most real-world use cases that institutions care about. The ETF rumors are particularly dangerous because they're creating false hope. Yes, there might eventually be an XRP ETF. But look at what happened with Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. The buy the rumor, sell the news effect was brutal. Bitcoin ETFs launched and Bitcoin's price went sideways for months. Ethereum ETFs launched and Ethereum actually declined. An XRP ETF might create some short-term buying pressure, but it's not going to magically make XRP worth $50 or $100 like the Moon Boys are promising you. ETFs create liquidity, they don't create long-term value without underlying fundamental demand. Speaking of fundamental demand, let's talk about the elephant in the room that nobody wants to address. XRP doesn't have sustainable demand drivers. The cross-border payments use case that everyone talks about represents a tiny fraction of global financial flows, and banks are finding ways to achieve the same efficiency gains without using XRP tokens. Ripple's technology is valuable. The XRP ledger has useful features, but the XRP token itself is becoming increasingly unnecessary for the actual use cases that matter. It's like owning stock in a company that makes great products but doesn't actually need to sell those products to make money. Now, here's where this gets really concerning for retail investors. The institutional players who are supposedly driving XRP adoption are not buying XRP the same way you are. They're not going to Coinbase or Binance and market buying XRP hoping it goes to the moon. They're negotiating private deals with Ripple. They're getting preferred pricing. They're getting guarantees and protections that retail investors will never have access to. When these institutions eventually exit their XRP positions, and they will, they're going to do it in ways that protect their interests while devastating retail investors. They'll have sophisticated hedging strategies. They'll have inside information about timing, and they'll have the ability to move their money into other assets before the broader market realizes what's happening. The smart money is already starting to rotate out of XRP and into other opportunities. I'm seeing major crypto funds reducing their XRP allocations. I'm seeing sophisticated investors taking profits and moving into assets with better risk-reward profiles. The writing is on the wall, but most retail investors are too emotionally attached to see it. Here's what I think is going to happen over the next 6 to 12 months, and why I believe many of you should consider selling now while you still can get a decent price for your XRP. First, the regulatory clarity that everyone thought was bullish is going to create more selling pressure than buying pressure. As compliance requirements become clearer, Many exchanges and institutions are going to realize that supporting XRP is more trouble than it's worth. We're going to see reduced liquidity, fewer trading pairs, and less institutional support. Second, Ripple's shift toward RLUSD and away from XRP-centric solutions is going to become more obvious. Their business model doesn't require XRP to succeed, and as their stablecoin gains adoption, the value proposition for holding XRP tokens diminishes significantly. Third, the technological advantages that XRP supposedly had are being eroded by newer, faster, more efficient blockchain networks. The first mover advantage in cross-border payments is not going to be enough to maintain market position against superior technology. Fourth, the macroeconomic environment is shifting in ways that are unfavorable to speculative assets like XRP. Interest rates are still elevated, institutional liquidity is tightening, and there's increasing regulatory scrutiny on cryptocurrency speculation. The easy money policies that drove the previous crypto bull run are over. Fifth, and this is the big one, central bank digital currencies are coming faster than most people realize. When the Federal Reserve launches a digital dollar, when the European Central Bank launches a digital euro, the need for bridge currencies like XRP disappears almost completely, and these CBDCs are not years away, they're months away. Now, I'm not saying XRP is going to zero. I'm not saying it doesn't have any value. What I'm saying is that the risk-reward profile has shifted dramatically, and for many investors, especially those who are overexposed to XRP, selling now and diversifying into other opportunities makes more sense than holding and hoping. If you bought XRP at 50 cents and it's now at $3, you've made a six-fold return. That's incredible. Take your profits. Don't get greedy. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that just because something went up 6 times, it's going to go up another 6 times. The investors who make real money in crypto are the ones who take profits when they have them, not the ones who hold forever hoping for impossible gains. If you're sitting on significant XRP profits right now, you're in a position that millions of crypto investors would kill for. Don't waste that opportunity by getting emotional about your investment. But here's the thing that really bothers me and why I felt compelled to make this video. Most XRP holders have become emotionally attached to their investment in ways that are clouding their judgment. They've bought into a narrative that XRP is going to make them wealthy, and they're ignoring obvious warning signs because they don't want to admit they might be wrong. I get it. I've been there. I've held investments longer than I should have, because I was emotionally attached to the story. But the market doesn't care about your emotions. The market doesn't care about your financial goals. The market is going to do what the market is going to do, and if you're not positioned correctly, you're going to get hurt. The hardest part about being successful in crypto is knowing when to sell. Buying is easy. Everyone can buy. But knowing when to take profits, when to cut losses, and when to move on to better opportunities, that's what separates successful investors from bag holders. Right now, XRP is giving you an opportunity to exit with significant profits. The price is still elevated, there's still liquidity in the market, and there are still buyers willing to pay current prices. But that window is closing faster than most people realize. I've seen this pattern before in crypto. A coin gets hyped up, the price runs up dramatically, everyone gets excited about the future potential, and then reality sets in. The use case doesn't develop as expected, better alternatives emerge, the market moves on, and the people who didn't sell near the top end up holding bags for years. Don't let that be you with XRP. Don't let emotional attachment to a cryptocurrency prevent you from making rational financial decisions. Don't let hope override logic when it comes to your investment strategy. Now, let me be clear about something. If you have a small position in XRP, if it's money you can afford to lose completely, if you want to hold it as a speculative bet, On the off chance that I'm wrong and XRP does go to $10 or $20, that's fine. Keep a small position if it helps you sleep at night. But if XRP represents a significant percentage of your crypto portfolio, if you have more money in XRP than you can afford to lose, if you're counting on XRP gains to fund your retirement or pay off your mortgage or achieve some major financial goal, then you need to seriously consider reducing your position. Diversification isn't just a buzzword, it's a survival strategy. The investors who do well long term are the ones who spread their risk across multiple assets, multiple strategies, and multiple time horizons. They don't put all their eggs in one basket, no matter how convinced they are that the basket is going to make them rich. If you're going to stay in crypto, and I think there are still incredible opportunities in this space, consider rotating some of your XRP profits into Bitcoin, which has proven staying power and institutional adoption. Consider Ethereum, which has an entire ecosystem built on top of it. Consider Solana, which is showing incredible technological progress. Consider some of the newer Layer 1 blockchains that are solving real problems. Better yet, consider taking some profits out of crypto entirely and diversifying into traditional investments. Real estate, stocks, bonds, commodities, there are opportunities everywhere right now. Don't limit yourself to cryptocurrency just because you've had success with it in the past. The biggest mistake I see crypto investors make is thinking that crypto is the only game in town. It's not. Crypto is one asset class among many. And while it can be incredibly profitable, it can also be incredibly risky. Smart investors use crypto as part of a broader investment strategy, not as their entire investment strategy. Here's what I would do if I were holding XRP right now, and this is what I'm recommending to people who ask me for advice. If you have significant XRP profits, sell at least 50% of your position immediately. Take those profits and diversify them into other assets. If XRP continues to go up after you sell, you'll still participate in some of those gains with your remaining position. If XRP goes down, you'll have protected half of your capital and can potentially buy back in at lower prices. This is called position management, and it's one of the most important skills you can develop as an investor. With the money you take off the table, consider putting some into Bitcoin, some into traditional investments, and keeping some in cash for future opportunities. Cash is not trash when you're looking at a potentially volatile market environment. Having dry powder available to deploy when better opportunities present themselves is incredibly valuable. I also want to address something that I know many of you are thinking, but what if you're wrong? What if XRP does go to $10 or $50 or $100? That's a fair question, and the honest answer is that I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again. But here's the thing about risk management. It's better to be wrong and miss out on some potential gains than to be wrong and lose everything. If I'm wrong and XRP continues to go up, you'll miss out on some profits, but you'll still have made money and you'll still have capital to invest in other opportunities. If I'm right and XRP declines significantly from current levels, you'll have protected your capital and possibly your entire financial future. The downside risk of being wrong is much greater than the upside risk of being wrong. This is why position sizing and risk management are so important. Never put more money into any single investment than you can afford to lose completely. Never bet your entire financial future on one asset, no matter how convinced you are that it's going to make you rich. The crypto market is incredibly unpredictable. Things that seem obvious in hindsight were not obvious at the time. The investors who survive and thrive in crypto are the ones who manage their risk carefully, take profits when they have them, and always maintain enough liquidity to take advantage of new opportunities. Let me share something personal with you. I've made millions of dollars in crypto over the years, But I've also lost hundreds of thousands of dollars by holding positions too long, by getting emotionally attached to investments, and by ignoring warning signs because I didn't want to admit I was wrong. The money I've made in crypto didn't come from hitting home runs on every investment. It came from hitting singles and doubles consistently, managing my risk carefully, and compounding my gains over time. The investors who try to hit home runs on every investment are the ones who strike out and lose everything. Right now, XRP at $3 is giving you the opportunity to hit a solid double or triple if you bought lower. Don't try to turn that double into a home run by holding forever. Take your profits, protect your capital, and look for the next opportunity. The crypto market is full of opportunities. New projects are launching constantly. New technologies are being developed. New use cases are being discovered. You don't have to marry XRP. You don't have to hold it forever. You can take your profits and move on to the next opportunity. In fact, that's exactly what the smart money is doing right now. They're taking XRP profits and rotating into AI tokens, into DeFi protocols with real yield, into layer 2 solutions with growing adoption, into projects that are solving real problems and generating real revenue. The narrative around XRP was compelling when it was 50 cents and the regulatory environment was uncertain. But narratives change, market conditions change, and investment strategies need to change with them. What worked in 2023 and early 2024 might not work in late 2025 and beyond. I want to end with this thought. Successful investing isn't about being right all the time. It's about making good decisions with incomplete information, managing risk carefully, and adapting your strategy when conditions change. Right now, the conditions around XRP are changing in ways that suggest the risk-reward profile is no longer as attractive as it once was. The smart play for many investors is to reduce exposure, take profits, and redeploy capital into better opportunities. Don't let ego, emotion, or attachment prevent you from making the best financial decision for your situation. Don't let the fear of missing out override logical risk management. Don't let hope replace analysis when it comes to your investment decisions. If you've made money with XRP, congratulations. You timed an investment well, and you deserve credit for that. Now make sure you keep that money by making smart decisions about when to take profits and when to move on. The goal isn't to be right about every investment. The goal is to make money and protect that money so you can continue investing and growing your wealth over time. Sometimes that means selling investments that you believe in, taking profits that you'd rather not take, and missing out on potential gains to protect against potential losses. That's what I think many XRP holders should do right now. Take your profits while you can, protect your capital, and look for the next opportunity. The crypto market will always have new opportunities for those who are prepared to take advantage of them. Remember, this is just one person's perspective based on my analysis of current market conditions, regulatory developments, and technological trends. Do your own research, consider your own financial situation, and make decisions that are right for you. But if you're holding XRP right now and you're not sure what to do, seriously consider taking some profits off the table. You might not get another opportunity like this for a very long time, and the downside risks are starting to outweigh the upside potential for many investors. That's my honest assessment of the XRP situation as we head into the final months of 2025. I hope this perspective helps you make better decisions with your investments, and I hope that whatever you decide to do, it works out well for you. The most important thing is to stay rational, manage your risk, and never invest more than you can afford to lose. The crypto market will always be volatile, but with proper risk management and realistic expectations, you can still do very well over time. Thanks for watching, and remember to always do your own research before making any investment decisions.